Now, believe it or not, we're finally getting back into the VN stuff. I'm actually on my way right now after work to go pick up my engine. I won't go into much detail this video on what exactly was done until next video when we actually start putting it together, and I'll explain what was done, what we did, and why we did it. And by the time you actually see this video, I'll have had the motor back for probably a month or so. The reason I didn't put the video out is because it's not a matter of just building a bottom end and you just put it back in. Like, there's a million things I want to change while it's out. There's heaps of other bolt-ons and stuff I want to do, so it's a lot of money to dump in one go. So each week I've just been putting together a couple of parts here and there, and I've finally got everything. We can start getting back into the VN engine again. I still need to do a transmission. Now, the engine's not going to go back in for a while still. I want to put the engine and trans back in together with the K-frame from the bottom, so I can't put the motor back in until I have everything else and the whole running gear is ready to go to put back in. So it's still a while off. I'm also going to quickly run back home to meet Anthony so he can help me put my boot back on, because I was going to attempt to put it back on with my girlfriend, but I didn't want to scratch that fresh, beautiful paint that I have. So Anthony's going to come help me put that back on, gap it all up nice because he knows what he's doing. Next week's video, this is a 33 GTR sitting on someone's front lawn. Next week's video, we'll like dive deep into doing the motor. So we'll pick this one up at Project Performance, picking up the engine. Oh god. So dyno room is all enclosed now. How good does that look? Renault S15 1J S13 with a very expensive G-force box. S14. NSX. '34 GTR. Just a lazy Hurricane Evo convertible. '32 GTR S15 CRX. Very nice 180. Aston Martin. What do we got down here? You can't see jack shit anyway, so there's kind of no point. That's all the cars at PP at the moment. Before.
Everything to me, they like the way the guy does his work, and apparently he's like really anal.
One built LS. What do you say to the people that said you can't machine standard LS rods? Obviously you can. That was the most commented thing, that you can't machine those crack rods.
Well, he did it, so.
Because wouldn't you just put them together and like line hone it?
Yeah,
like
that's pretty much what he does.
Cam bearings and shit.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same thing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, she's got ARP. I just want to make sure you put the ARP.
Wow, way. You want to explain what ended up happening with this engine?
So pretty much.
Because I haven't said anything anywhere what I was actually doing in the end.
From once I sent it to the machine shop, we pretty much. He lineaged the crank, new main and big end bearings. You had to end up getting new pistons because your bore was no good.
They
So
had
we had to- we had
water
to-
damage.
Yeah, he said it looks like it's had water sitting in the bore or a head gasket go before it had pitting on the walls of the bore. So we had to oversize it and put new pistons in. You just did like a factory replacement piston,
They're
nothing forged
10th
or
hour
anything.
over from memory.
Yeah, 10th hour over, that's right.
ARP rod bolts.
Yeah, put the ARP rod bolts in it. Your rods are just the standard rods still.
New cam bearings.
New cam bearings.
Did the heads.
Checked the block and the heads. You checked the heads, they were all good. You got away with that. They didn't end up like
with that little
damaging
nick
or
on
bending
them.
any valves or anything. So the heads, yeah, the heads just got pretty much a Rico, and it's pretty much a
stock rebuild.
Stock rebuild.
It's pretty much a stroker now with those bigger pistons.
Yeah, it's like it's 10th hour over, so it's like a mini stroker.
Alright,
So
cool.
the only sort of real mod you did is ARP rod bolts, just for sort of peace of mind.
Yeah, other than that, it's pretty stock. So you want to quickly put this cam back in to make sure it doesn't bind up, because
Yeah, we're just gonna make sure like there's no, the cam's good, there's no damage.
we're keeping
the
this
bearing?
cam,
Yeah, so if everything's good, we're using. Come on, man.
the turbo killer, that doesn't seem to kill many turbos because it didn't make that much power.
Yeah, so
By eye, it looks alright. Yeah, like no shavings have gone like between the lifters and the cam itself and
Nah, well, the
scored
thing
it
is,
up and
like,
shit.
there's not really, besides sort of here, there's not really like an oil gallery that like shit can get in. It just
Yeah.
lubes the bearings and that. So a bit of the
Lubrications.
lubrications.
Are you scared?
I'm not. You should be.
Thanks. I ought to reuse this crank. Fuck, that is so destroyed. Oh, you know what was another comment that came up when we pulled this motor apart?
What's that?
That you were very rough removing the cam.
Well, the thing is,
No pressure.
I knew we were replacing a lot of stuff, like the bearings and
So
shit,
just send it on the way out.
I didn't really.
Woo! These are going to see so much limiter.
That's why we put them. Other than that, looks good. The piston's brand new. Everything looks pretty clean. Like those rods were pretty. Remember all the
Yeah,
shit
they
that was
were.
caked on them?
Fuck.
So,
Cool.
so
Alright.
it looks good.
We're going to fit this absolute beauty back to the VN. I'm just waiting for Anthony to come, who owns Minis Paint and Panels, so he can help me put it on and I don't scratch it. I was thinking, do I attempt it with my girlfriend? But I could see disaster happening, so I'm just going to wait for him to get here so I can put this on and then give all these little bits and pieces a good clean, as you do, before anything goes back on.
it's not hard, like it'd be
Oh, trust me, something would happen.
fucking tight here, man.
It's good that didn't paint underneath, because you can sort of line
Yeah.
everything back up.
Yeah, we should just be able to screw it on the old marks and it'll sit.
I hope so. It did sit good before, so hopefully it goes back where it was.
Right there.
Yeah.
Fucking that pulley there, not bad, huh?
Fuck, that lines up perfect.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty good my side.
Yeah. Well,
I think
yeah.
you just got to adjust that rubber a bit
Have a look at that side.
and put the latch in.
Are you wrapped with the colour?
The colour's spot on.
Because I don't know. White looks white. Like when he was doing the paint swatch thing.
You
Like,
couldn't tell. Yeah.
So happy. Thank you so much again, Paul and Anthony. The paint is perfect. It's one thing I was very scared about, because I know white is a very, very hard colour to match, but this is perfect. Now the next dilemma is, I'll be honest, I can't remember how this latch assembly goes back together. So this is gonna be a bit of a shitstorm. So after all, with this peanut brain, I did manage to figure it all out. So everything back in, all the stoppers and all that crap. I just can't feed this back through. I cannot get that back through up into here, so that's for another day, I think. Like absolute glass. So happy. Alright, so I'm gonna run you through why it has taken me so long to put together all these parts for this engine. Now it's because I want to make this thing as reliable as possible, so any little thing I can get, I have purchased. So I'm going to run through everything and why I got them. We'll go number one here. Now massive, for these two parts, massive thanks to the guys at VCM. They took me actually on a tour of the shop and their facility, which was amazing, and did me a really good price on this stuff, so massive thanks to those guys down there. Number one is this little girdle for your oil pickup. Now on LS's, the oil pickup is only bolted by one side, so this goes on the other side and braces it from lifting to one side and obviously losing oil pressure. Item number one. Next is what they call a dumbbell or barbell or whatever. Now these go in the back of the block. They actually have one factory that's plastic, but as they get older with hot oil going across the plastic, blah, 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 they get very brittle and start to leak. Now, when one of these leaks internally, you're actually bypassing the oil filter, which is obviously not a very good thing. So new O-ring on each end, and this one is, I think they're alloy. So obviously a tighter tolerance fit than plastic's ever gonna be. Next is a Mail, Marley, whatever you wanna call this company. This is actually your cam retainer plate on the front of the engine. So this is the plate that holds your cam in on the front. Something really overlooked, so these can leak this seal. Now, most people won't replace these because they look fine when you pull them out, but if you hold them flat, you can actually see that the seal on here flattens out and starts to leak, and obviously you can lose oil pressure with it draining past the front of the plate. So that as well. These Mace Engineering, what they call trunnions. So trunnions are what your rockers pivot on inside. Now, the factory ones are sort of prone to blowing the end caps off, and then it sends all these little needle bearings through your engine. So these are like an upgraded full kit. They're like a metal caps on the end with circlips and stuff, so it prevents them from all pop. I'm not going to pull all that out. You know what that is? One of the biggest bolts I've ever seen. So ARP balancer bolt. You don't really need me to explain that. Obviously, with my engine spinning a bearing, it needed an oil pump. It had a malling in it before, but you can't reuse it for obvious reasons. It's going to have metal all through it. So I got another malling oil pump. I have gone down the head stud route. So we got ARP Head Stud Kit, pretty self-explanatory. Brand new bolts for the lifter trays. ARP bolts for actually this plate that I mentioned previously, which after doing a bit of research, I'm pretty sure I can't even use these because the head sticks out too much and hits the back of your cam sprocket. So we'll see how we go with those. ARP bolts for the cam sprocket itself. ARP everything where you can. All new lifter trays. Now, if you remember when we pulled this engine apart, one of the holes here was really elongated because it was loose and it was moving around, so just replace all four while you're at it. It's very, very cheap. We have full set of brand new LS1 lifters. Now, we were going to use my old ones, but there's just too many unknowns. One had a little nick on one of the rollers, so I just thought, I'll just buy a whole kit. You know, it came with like the trays and stuff, so just do a whole kit of these while it's all out. If anyone wants my old lifters, I'll sell them very, very cheap. Obviously a gasket kit, so this is all bottom end, sump, timing case, blah, 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 all that stuff. Genuine Holden head gaskets. self-explanatory. 2 of those, multi-layer metal. Rear main seal assembly with the plate and everything. Now this is a genuine Holden. Best to always go genuine Holden with this stuff because you really don't want it to be leaking. And LS is a really prone to oil leaks, so, and comes with all new bolts, etc. Sump baffle kit. Shut up, fucking dog. So improved racing. This just bolts into your sump as the old one does. You know, it has these trapdoors to try and keep oil around the pickup. So hopefully you don't spin a bearing again. We were going to put a stock balancer back on it, but if everything's apart, why not? So all new pulleys for everything. Belts. So this is a full kit. And power bond balancer that is very, very heavy. And a very nice unit. Now, the last couple of things. If you remember, my headers were scraping on the ground and were a massive pain in the ass every time I drove the car. So I found a mate actually put these up for sale. So the conversion headers 4 into 2 into 1 with 3-inch outlets. So they should sit up nice and tucked to the floor. They're HPC coated and ready to go, which is a bonus. I also picked up a 3.5 grain converter to suit the Turbo 350, which I still haven't got built yet, which I mentioned previously. And also, if you remember, I said that I didn't want to put my bonnet back on yet because obviously the motor's not in, so I may as well do the bonnet last. So I had all the bonnet hardware, the spring and everything, latch, all re-anodized. Now I'm sure some of this is probably the wrong color, but when I cleaned everything, everything was gold and the latch was black, so I'm just assuming that's what it's supposed to be. So that's what it's going to be. So as you can see, apart from the motor itself, there is a lot of other things you have to buy. I have to admit, I thought this was going to be very cheap when I got a price on the engine, and the engine itself was a very good deal when I got it built. I will go into more detail next video. Adding everything up, engine was a certain amount of money. I will also do a video on the cost of that. All these little bits and pieces cost just as much as the engine. So it all blows out very, very quickly to do pretty much another stock LS. So that's why it took so long to get this engine ready to go, because it's just a lot of money to dump in one hit. So anyway, we'll pick this up next week where we're actually piecing together the rest of the motor, you know, putting all this stuff on that I've got here on the floor, and I should be able to bring it back home here and have it on an engine stand, and then I'll be able to do all the sort of pretty up things which I can do myself, which I don't need Daniel's help for, which is good. See you guys next week.